The holidays are coming up. Now, Jonathan, be a good little boy and tell us what you want for Christmas.
I want Marvel to collapse as a company.
That's messed up. How about a set of Joker cufflinks?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have that written down as number 2 on my wish list.
Well, I know just where to get a pair, along with a wide variety of Marvel and DC men's fashion gear at cufflinks.com, who has partnered with this show. In fact, this holiday season, I'm going to shop there for all the comic fans in my life because I can get 15% off any purchase using the promo code DUEL15 when I check out, from now until December 31st.
15% is a great deal. I'll be holiday shopping at cufflinks.com as well. You want some Joker cufflinks too?
I have my heart set on the Iron Man tie.
Well, too bad, because you're getting Joker cufflinks. We're twins, we should have a matching set.
Well, I guess I'll just buy you the Iron Man tie, and then we can swap gifts.
Deal! In the meantime, we want to thank cufflinks.com for helping us put on a contest over this past month to give away a silk Batman tie and a paisley Iron Man tie. To enter, all you had to do was visit cufflinks.com and send us a message as to which of their DC or Marvel products you liked the most. We tallied up your picks, and the comic company with the most favorites was Marvel.
Yes! Marvel is officially the most stylish company per our listeners. They got 70.6% of the answers compared to DC's 29.4%. Thanks to everyone that participated in the contest. We'd like to congratulate the 2 randomly selected winners of the ties. Colby Henches, you've won the Iron Man Paisley tie.
And James Cole III, you're getting the silk Batman tie. We'll reach out to both of you the day this episode airs.
Thanks again to everyone who participated, and don't forget, you still get 15% off any purchase at cufflinks.com with the promo code DUEL15 at checkout until the end of the year. That's DUEL15. Visit their site now and take advantage of this offer for the holidays, for you or your significant other.
On with the show! Hi, and welcome to the Dynamic Duel Podcast, a weekly show where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Johnny DC.
And I'm his twin brother, Marvelous Joe.
And in this Duel episode, we will be pitting Poison Ivy against the White Queen, Emma Frost.
It's the cheesecake episode. Yeah.
Yeah, both characters are known for being seductive. Both characters are known for their mind control. There's just a lot of similarities. And this specific episode was chosen by our executive producers.
Yeah, these are 2 lovely ladies here. But for those of you that are into dudes, we'll definitely get a beefcake episode going at some point.
I'm pretty sure that was Batman versus Moon Knight.
No. People like Gambit. I think he's like the male seductor of the Marvel Universe. Or Iron Man.
On DC's end, it would probably be maybe like Hal Jordan and Green Arrow?
Really? That kind of surprises me. I don't know. But anyway.
I'm sorry, you're saying you're not attracted to Hal Jordan?
I mean, only sexually, not like mentally or anything.
Before we get into the main event, we're going to break down the comic book movie news from the past week, including Jared Leto's Joker is getting a new look for the Snyder Cut. WandaVision has been pushed back to January 2021. And Vigilante and others have been cast for the HBO Max Peacemaker series.
As always, we list our segment times in our episode description, so feel free to check out the show notes if you want to skip ahead to a particular topic. We want to give a huge shout out to a new executive producer of this show. His name is John Bechinina, and he signed up on Patreon and now gets access to exclusive perks like helping us determine this show's content, custom duel requests where we put our numbers to work for him, and bonus bloopers episodes that we release. So welcome aboard, John. Glad to have you. And if you guys want similar perks, go ahead and visit us on patreon.com/dynamicduel and get them perks.
Yeah, our lowest cost tier is only $2 a month. And patrons will soon get access to an exclusive Marvel vs. DC card game that Joseph and I developed that we'll be releasing during Black Friday later this month.
Yeah, look forward to that, guys. Can't wait to unveil that. We also want to give a shout out to Joshua Smith. Today is his birthday, the day that this episode releases, November 17th. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
If I had to give you a Marvel birthday gift, I would give you the Cosmic Cube.
And I would give you the anti-life equation. So you can take over the whole universe.
Just a quick reminder, guys, to please subscribe to our show if you haven't already, and if you have, please help us grow our podcast audience by leaving a quick rating or review on whatever platform you're listening to us on, or by sharing us with your fellow DC and Marvel fans. And with that out of the way,
quick to the no prize.
A no prize is an award Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award we post on social media that we personally draw for those who we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week.
Since there was no news last week, our question revolved around the contest that we were running. So we asked, what is your favorite Marvel or DC product from cufflinks.com, essentially forcing you to join our contest.
Yeah, and while Colby Henches and James Cole III won the ties, congratulations, we want to thank everybody for participating, because there was no wrong answer here.
Right, all of their products are cool, so all of you get the no prize, including Miggy Madangian, Michael Haggerty, Mike Wallers, and Enrique Suarez.
As well as Caleb Albers, Jace Crump, JC Eustace, John Starosky, Harrison Fox, Joshua Smith, CJ Kraft, Paige Barger, Nathaniel Wagner, Richard McGrew, and Lydia Garcia Suarez.
And if you're a DC fan, I just want to ask, where the hell were ya?
Nobody thinks DC's stylish. DC characters still have yet to learn that the underwear goes inside the pants.
Oh gosh. That's fair, I guess.
So congrats to everyone who participated and won the no prize. If you, the listener, want a shot at winning your own no prize, stay tuned to later on this episode when we'll be asking another question of the week. And now that that's done,
on to the news. Okay, so last week, Zack Snyder did an interview with Grace Randolph of Beyond the Trailer. It's a really good interview. I definitely encourage you guys to watch it. But Zack Snyder released some interesting tidbits, the most interesting of which was the fact that he's giving Jared Leto a new look as the Joker in his film.
Thank God.
Yeah, so from the sound of it, it seems like he's not going to have the tattoos, though we don't know for sure yet. Grace Randolph actually got to take a look at it. None of us got to see it, but she described it as a video game type look. Which makes me wonder if Jared Leto is going to look like the Joker from the Arkham games, which would be really cool. A pretty big departure from his previous look, but really cool.
Well, what we needed was a big departure from his previous look, because, I mean, the design was bleh, but what really got me were the tattoos, especially on the forehead that said damaged. It was just god-awful. Now, granted, the look wasn't the only horrible thing about that rendition of the character in the Suicide Squad movie, but I'm hoping that with better direction and an improved look, Jared Leto can really knock this character out of the park, because he is a fantastic actor.
I'm telling you, they should just make it that all the tattoos were temporary tattoos. It was a joke. He's the Joker. It could work. But I definitely think that Zack Snyder, he knows what he wants. And I think his vision for the Joker will be probably more on par with what we get from the comic books, considering his Batman in Ben Affleck was probably the most comic-accurate Batman we've seen on screen. I think that Jared Leto would not have done this if he was not confident in Zack Snyder's vision. So the fact that he not only signed up, but the fact that he was okay with the new look for the character is really encouraging to me. One of the other things that I thought was really interesting to come out of that interview was the fact that apparently Zack Snyder is only shooting 4 or 5 additional minutes of footage outside of what he originally planned to shoot for his version of the film. That just blows my mind. He explained it as that he typically always shoots additional footage for films because he wants his movies to be these 4-hour epics of sorts, and that's why we got such longer versions of Batman v Superman and Watchmen.
Yeah, I totally believe that, considering the extended cuts that he's released.
And apparently those 4 additional minutes are going to be this Joker scene. So we won't get to see Jared Leto on screen for very long, considering this is a 4-hour movie.
I hope it's just 4 minutes of Batman beating the shit out of the Joker. And allegedly, the Joker lost his teeth by getting them punched out by Batman after Joker killed Robin.
Oh man, if we could see that scene, that would be so cool. Because it's a loose end. You know, we see the costume in the Batcave in Batman v Superman. Zack Snyder has to touch on that. He just has to. We're still waiting on a release date for the film, but rumors are currently that it's going to be released in Q3 of 2021. We'll see.
That's anywhere between July and September?
Right.
That makes sense timeline-wise, though.
Yeah.
In terms
you
of
have
production.
To do all the special effects and stuff.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Speaking of waiting for shows to come out, WandaVision was originally supposed to come out next month, December of 2020, but it got pushed back a month to January of 2021, making this year now officially the worst year of all time.
Yeah, it's MCU content free.
Yeah,
completely.
Exactly. Yeah, the only Marvel content we got this year was New Mutants and the Hellstrom TV show on Hulu and the final season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I would hate to be a Marvel fan right now. Or ever.
I mean, the worst year of being a Marvel fan is still better than the best year of being a DC fan. So yeah, I feel bad for myself, but it's still never as bad as I feel for you.
That's not true at all. That is not true.
So the official release date will be January 15th of 2021. And I'm not sure if the series is supposed to be 6 episodes or 9 episodes, because previously we reported on this podcast that the series was going to be 9 episodes, which we thought was a really good show of faith in the series. But it's looking like that was apparently an incorrect scoop on behalf of Murphy's Multiverse.
That's still not bad. I mean, that's a 6-hour movie, essentially.
Right. Which means that ultimately we'll be reviewing the show on February 23rd, 2021. So, look forward to that then. Just keep washing your hands and wearing your masks and keeping your social distance going. I can't wait for 2021 to be a better year. I really think this is going to be a great show from the looks of it. I think I'm most excited to see all the different sitcoms through the ages that this show parodies. And that brings us to our question of the week. What classic sitcom would you like to see WandaVision parody, and what would that look like? So from like the 50s to the early 2000s, pick a show from among that time frame that you think would be cool to see parodied on WandaVision, and give us a vague description of what you think that would look like.
Post your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to social media. In our final bit of news, HBO Max's Peacemaker series has added Danielle Brooks, Robert Patrick, Jennifer Holland, and Chris Conrad, the latter of whom will play the anti-hero Adrian Chase, aka Vigilante, who you may remember from the Arrow TV show if you ever saw that. Or the comic books, from there as well.
Now, we thought that Idris Elba was going to play Vigilante for the longest time, until he was officially announced as Bloodsport during the DC Fandom.
And I still think that was kind of a mistake. He should have been Bronze Tiger.
Yeah, I agree. Considering that Bronze Tiger is a much cooler character and has actually been a member of the Suicide Squad in the comics.
A leader, yeah. Now, Danielle Brooks, you may recognize her from the show Orange is the New Black. She's a really talented actress. It seems like it's a substantial role. Of course, you'll probably recognize Robert Patrick from his role as T-1000 from Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And finally, Jennifer Holland, who is James Gunn's girlfriend, is going to reprise her role from the Suicide Squad film as Amelia Harcourt.
And who's that?
In the comics, she's an Argus agent who sort of monitors the Suicide Squad.
What's an Argus agent?
You know Argus. I think Argus was in the first Suicide Squad film. It's Amanda Waller's government division. It's the Advanced Research Group Uniting Superhumans.
That's a horrible acronym.
S.H.I.E.L.D.
is
it's like
way
DC
better.
S.H.I.E.L.D., essentially. Also of note, Steve Agee, who's playing King Shark in the film, is going to be playing a non-CG role as John Economos in the Peacemaker show, and I think in the movie as well. I think he's just another Argus handler. Now, production for this show is set to begin in early 2021. We don't have a release date set for it, but it's supposed to be a prequel to the Suicide Squad film, and I think the plan right now is to have it come out before the movie comes out.
Quite the speedy production.
Well, the great thing about TV shows is that you don't have to film it all at once. Like, you could have the first episode air and still be filming and editing the last episodes.
That's true. Hopefully it happens, because I'm really excited to see what this John Cena role looks like.
Well, that does it for the news portion of this episode. Now it's time to get onto the main event, where we find out who would win in a matchup between the Batman villain, Poison Ivy, and the X-Men character, the White Queen, Emma Frost. Okay, Poison Ivy versus White Queen. This episode was chosen by our executive producers. Now, when I first heard about this match, I honestly didn't think it was going to be that great of a matchup. I thought there's no way Poison Ivy would be able to go toe-to-toe with a psychic as powerful as Emma Frost. But the more I thought about it, the more I saw that there were similarities that couldn't be ignored, and came to the realization of just how powerful Poison Ivy is, and I think this is going to be a really good match.
Yeah, the first similarity is that they're both hot as hell.
They are very attractive.
I am very aroused.
Yeah, I mean, and they both use that to their advantage, right? They're both seductresses, and they both use mind control to get what they want.
In addition to the mind control, though, they both have other physical weapons at their disposal. One has a diamond form, the other one has a chlorophyll form. I think it's going to work out well.
But if you've never listened to one of our Duel episodes before, the way we determine a winner between these two characters is by running 1,000 Monte Carlo simulations using their statistics. What's a Monte Carlo simulation? Well, it's a probabilistic model used to determine outcomes through random sampling.
And in our case, it randomizes statistics along a normal distribution, which is a bell curve, as a way to simulate the many variables that can occur during battle. The stat parameters that we use are based on the official Marvel Power Grid, and we use that criteria to extrapolate the DC character's stats. We've included some additional stat categories of our own, such as range, damage potential, and perception, in order to create a more complete and robust simulation.
Running these 1,000 simulations gives us a percentage of wins for each character, and we declare the one with the higher percentage to be the ultimate victor, given that they're more likely to win any given battle. No character ever wins 100% of the time. Comics have shown that there's always a way for Batman to defeat Superman. We feel our method falls in line with the precedents that have been established in the comic book stories.
And we use this method because it was the least subjective, most unbiased way to determine who would win. Of course, we're both heavily biased toward our respective allegiances, and instead of debating these matchups forever, we just let the math decide for us. So there's no fan votes here, and no relying on just feats.
Before we run the simulations, though, we like to break down each character's histories and abilities before improvising a scenario on how we imagine one of the 1,000 simulations we run would play out beat for beat.
And I think it's my turn to give the breakdown of the Marvel character this episode, so let me go ahead and tell you guys all about the White Queen, Emma Frost. Emma Frost was born in Boston to Winston and Hazel Frost, a vastly wealthy family living in Snow Valley, Massachusetts. Her father was strict and domineering, imposing unreasonably high standards on Emma to be perfect in all facets of growing up. The household stress led her mother to abuse prescription drugs to cope, and the stress triggered Emma's mutant power of telepathy as a late teen. Through her mind-reading abilities, she came up with an elaborate plan to blackmail her father as a reprisal for his unrelenting criticism throughout her childhood. Though it was a plan that managed to actually impress her father for once. He offered her a position in the family business, but Emma rejected him, wanting to become a teacher instead, and she left home to find her own way. Starting with $400 in her savings account, she moved to Manhattan and attended Empire State University, where she earned her first degree in business administration while exotic dancing on the side. Not really stripping, but psychically making visitors see what they wanted to see.
Oh, like in the First Class movie.
Yeah, exactly. While dancing, Emma learned about the underground social club for wealthy elites known as the Hellfire Club. Intrigued, she performed a private show for its ruling members called the Inner Circle, a shrewd group that secretly used its wealth to manipulate world events in its agenda for more influence and power. One member in particular became smitten with Emma, a secret mutant called Sebastian Shaw, who was known as the Black King. He inducted her into the Inner Circle as its White Queen, and together they killed the rest of the ruling members who were plotting to eradicate mutant kind by funding their own personal Sentinel program. Shaw and Emma then formed a new Inner Circle composed of only mutants. Within the club, Emma found great success. She founded Frost International, a transportation corporation that became her financial empire, and she became headmistress of the Massachusetts Academy, where the Hellfire Club would find and train young mutants to advance their agenda, calling them Hellions. Emma became aware of the young mutant Kitty Pryde at the same time that Professor Charles Xavier did, and they both attempted to recruit the teen into their respective schools. This resulted in a fight between Emma's Hellfire Club and Xavier's X-Men, and in the end, Kitty Pryde enrolled in Xavier's School for the Gifted. The X-Men battled Emma and her rival schools several times, though they did occasionally work together against common enemies such as the Sentinels. During one such Sentinel attack, all of Emma's Hellion students were tragically killed, and she placed herself into a psychic coma in order to survive.
Wow.
She woke up in Xavier's mansion and possessed Iceman's mind, unlocking the full potential of his mutant powers, which you can learn more about in our Green Lantern vs. Iceman episode. Overcome by grief at the loss of her students, Emma relinquished control of Iceman's body and lamented that perhaps the Hellions would have survived if they had been trained by Xavier instead. She decided to atone for her past and rebuilt her academy as an offshoot of Xavier's school, leaving the Hellfire Club and teaming up with Banshee to train the newest class of mutants, known as Generation X, which consisted of members such as Jubilee, Sync, Husk, M, Chamber, Skin, Artie, and Leech. However, when the students learned about Emma's past sins, they disbanded and left her. Emma then traveled to the African island nation of Genosha, which Magneto had freed from mutant slavery and had taken charge of. She taught at a school there until it too came under attack by Sentinels in an assault that killed every mutant on the island. Emma was one of its only survivors due to the sudden manifestation of a secondary mutation. Her body was now able to turn into Diamond. Rescued by the X-Men, Emma accepted a position at the Xavier Institute, where she taught a new generation of mutants and served as the school counselor. While counseling Cyclops over his recent psychic possession by Apocalypse and marital issues with Jean Grey, the two began having an affair. Eventually, Jean caught them cheating, and she psychically tore through Emma's memories, forcing her to relive her painful past. Emma confessed that her attraction to Scott was genuine love. Very shortly after, Jean Grey was apparently killed by a mutant named Zorn in an attack that destroyed Xavier's school. As Jean died in Cyclops' arms, she forgave him, understanding that they had grown apart. Emma convinced Cyclops to rebuild the school with her, and despite his guilt, he agreed, partly due to psychic prodding by Jean Grey's spirit, who recognized that Cyclops would need someone to care for him as she helped reconstitute the Phoenix Force in space, which you can learn more about in our Raven vs. Phoenix episode. Emma and Cyclops became co-headmasters of Xavier's school, and they redesigned the X-Men to become more prominent in the public eye in order to improve the perception of mutants. Many of the X-Men distrusted her, remembering her villainous past and believing she manipulated her way into her role at the school and into Cyclops' affections. This was made worse by Emma's realization that her secondary mutation and her joining the X-Men were all due to subliminal psychic manipulations by a powerful mutant, Cassandra Nova, who is Xavier's sister. With the X-Men's help, Emma overcame Cassandra Nova's influence and earned the team's trust. During the Phoenix Force's premature return to Earth to acquire its new host, the entity was split into 5 fragments in an attempt by Earth's heroes to destroy it. The 5 fragments entered the bodies of Emma, Cyclops, Namor the Submariner, Magik, and Colossus, who then became known as the Phoenix Five. Together, they tried to bring humans and mutants together by solving the world's hunger and energy crises, though Emma displayed some darker vigilante inclinations when she started losing control of her power and began knowing the secrets of everyone across the globe. Eventually, she and the other Phoenix Five lost their Phoenix Force fragments, and the power entered Hope Summers, who was the first mutant born after the Scarlet Witch's elimination of most of the world's mutant powers. Hope was raised by Cable, and she used the Phoenix's powers to restore mutant kind on Earth, which you can learn more about in our Titans vs. X-Men episode. Emma and Cyclops were arrested for their crimes under the influence of the Phoenix, but they broke out with Magneto's help. Together, they traveled the globe, assisting the persecuted new mutant population and fighting in a revolution for mutant rights. Emma determined that the Hellfire Club's inner circle needed to be destroyed for the good of humanity, and she went after Sebastian Shaw. Though he could absorb her psychic energy and was immune to it, she slipped a paralytic drug into one of his drinks, defeating him, and she took control of the Hellfire Club, vowing to change the way it operates, again as the White Queen. In this capacity, she became one of the chief voices on the governing body of the new mutant island nation of Krakoa, which became a new home to all mutants. And that's her history. Powers-wise, the White Queen has vast psychic powers. Her primary telepathic ability gives her broad access to opponents' minds, even from great distances. She can read minds, psychically communicate with other minds, sedate them, erase them, alter them, control them, and so on. She can create psychic energy blasts that cause mental pain, psychic shields to protect her own mind, and mental illusions. Emma can also project her consciousness into the astral plane. Her secondary mutation, triggered by Cassandra Nova, lets her transform her body's organic tissue into Diamond. This grants her heightened durability and strength, able to lift 2 tons of weight. This Diamond form does block her telepathic powers, but it also grants her complete psychic immunity. In addition to her mutant powers, Emma is also an expert strategist and qualified in business administration, psychotherapy, neurology, biology, and of course, sexology.
What?
Yeah, she's a licensed psychotherapist specializing in sexology.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Why the hell did I major in that? Dang it. She's a pretty interesting character. I've always liked Emma Frost. I think I like her more than Jean Grey. If I had to choose a camp,
No.
I'm Team Emma.
How dare you? Jean Grey all the way. It has to be Jean. I was really pissed at Cyclops when he cheated on Jean, and I still think that ultimately those two are going to end up together.
Well, then who's there for Emma?
Emma can have anyone.
That's true. So could Poison Ivy. Let me get into her backstory. Pamela Isley was an only child born to wealthy parents in the state of Washington. She had a skin condition that made her sensitive to light, and her father kept her indoors. Pamela's mother, however, loved to garden, and she would occasionally let Pamela outside to help her tend to her flowers in the backyard. When Pamela's father found out, he got angry and beat Pamela's mother. The abuse continued, though Pamela's father was quick to give his wife flowers afterward as a gesture of forgiveness. Eventually, Pamela's father killed her mother and buried her in the backyard garden that she and Pamela tended.
Jesus.
Pamela's father was eventually caught and sentenced to life in prison. She was then raised by a relative and eventually attended a local university, where she studied for a doctorate degree in botanical biochemistry, notably alongside Alec Holland, who you can learn more about in our Swamp Thing vs. Man-Thing episode. One of her botany professors was a man named Dr. Jason Woodrue, who was in exile from another dimension and a planet inhabited by miniature plant-based humanoids. Dr. Woodrue was obsessed with accessing the green, an abstract interplanetary connection among all plant life in the universe. And before Dr. Woodrue developed a formula that would turn him into a living plant being known as the Floronic Man, who's a Swamp Thing villain, he first tried experimental formulas on Pamela after seducing and convincing her to be his test subject. The toxic formulas altered Pamela's physiology, and she was hospitalized for 6 months, after which she learned Dr. Woodrue had fled after the experiment, which had left her infertile, and that she now possessed a toxic touch as well as an innate pheromone production that allowed her to manipulate both humans and plants. Enraged and suffering from violent mood swings, Pamela fled to Gotham City after nearly killing her college boyfriend by filling his lungs with fungus.
Ew.
In Gotham City, Pamela took on the new villainous identity of Poison Ivy, an eco-terrorist bent on revenge against men and the destruction they brought to the world's plant life. After threatening to suffocate Gotham City's citizens with fungal spores unless they met her demands, Ivy was thwarted by Batman and sent to Arkham Asylum. Eventually, Ivy was released on parole for good behavior, and she began using her abilities to seduce and kill wealthy millionaires in order to gain funds to buy land where she could be alone with her plants. She settled on a barren island in the Caribbean, which she transformed into a tropical paradise. It wasn't long before the island was accidentally napalmed, however, by a weapons manufacturer who wanted to test their weaponry on what they thought was an uninhabited island. After tracking down and killing most of those responsible, Ivy caught the attention of Batman, who saved her from the company's weapons, and she was returned to Arkham Asylum. Dr. Jason Woodrue, who by now was the Floronic Man, later broke Ivy out of Arkham, offering her large amounts of money in exchange for her DNA, which he planned on using to create offspring between them. Ivy betrayed Floronic Man, who was decapitated by Batman, and Ivy fled with the money.
Batman killed a dude?
Well, no, he's made of plants, he can't really die. His head was human, but his body was made of, branches and stuff.
Okay.
When Gotham City was destroyed in a massive earthquake and declared a no man's land by the government, Batman's villains began fighting over any remaining habitable territory, though Ivy was content to take over the impoverished Robinson Park, which she turned into a paradise. Children who were orphaned during the earthquake were drawn to the park, and Ivy took them in, caring for and protecting them from the gang wars of other villains, while providing fresh produce for other starving earthquake survivors. At one point, Ivy found and took in a battered Harley Quinn, who you can learn more about in our Harley Quinn vs. Domino episode. Harley had almost been killed by the Joker, and Ivy helped nurse her back to health, starting a deep friendship and eventual romantic relationship between the two. When order was restored to Gotham, Ivy refused to give up her park until she accidentally poisoned one of her orphans, at which point she surrendered. When the villains Hush and the Riddler enlisted Gotham's villains to help drive Batman insane, Ivy was tasked with controlling Superman into attacking Batman and Catwoman into manipulating him. Ivy eventually learned that the Joker was himself manipulating her, and she teamed up with Catwoman to get revenge on both Riddler and Hush. You can, of course, learn more about Catwoman in our Catwoman vs. Hellcat episode and the Riddler in our Riddler vs. Arcade episode. After Batman died for a time, Ivy, Catwoman, and Harley Quinn decided to join forces as the Gotham City Sirens team, and they maintained a degree of order within Gotham City. Harley betrayed the team, however, after she decided to rescue the Joker from Arkham Asylum rather than kill him. After Catwoman found out Ivy tried to drug her in order to learn Batman's secret identity, the team disbanded. Ivy and Harley would, however, make amends and continue their friendship. After the events of Flashpoint that reset DC's continuity, the Floronic Man was retconned out of Pamela Isley's origin. We learned instead that Pamela had been experimenting with pheromones and developing designer drugs while in college, and she used them to manipulate the Dean into securing a highly sought-after internship at Wayne Enterprises. After graduating with summa cum laude honors, Pamela visited her father in prison and killed him with a poisonous kiss, with toxic lipstick of her own creation, before moving to Gotham City. After manipulating her way into getting a meeting with Bruce Wayne to tout the benefits of controlling consumers with pheromones, Pamela was fired from her job due to ethical concerns, and during the physical struggle with security in her lab, she was doused with her own experimental chemicals, altering her physiology and turning her into Poison Ivy. After a stint on the Birds of Prey team, Ivy began a new job working as a botanist for the Gotham Botanical Gardens, where she began secret work on merging human and plant DNA to form babies for herself that she referred to as sporelings. She successfully delivered 2, which she named Rose and Hazel, but a third one, named Thorn, was made after her research was stolen by a colleague. Ivy rescued Thorn and destroyed the facility containing all of her research. The sporelings grew rapidly and were eventually attacked by a plant-based monster who turned out to be the colleague who stole her sporling research, Dr. Albertus Grimley. Grimley had cancer, so he created sporelings in order to use their stem cells to cure himself, though with the research and facility gone, he came after Rose, Hazel, and Thorn. Unable to stop Grimley on her own, Ivy called out into the green for help, and Swamp Thing came to her aid. The sporelings, now grown, decided to leave Ivy in order to explore the world, and Ivy, whose powers had increased after interacting with Swamp Thing and the Green, was able to manipulate vegetation across the planet and was successful in taking control of every single human on Earth, finally achieving a utopian harmony between flora and fauna, though at the cost of mankind's free will. Batman was able to determine what was going on in time, however, and he developed an antidote for Catwoman and himself to stop Ivy. Ivy controlled Superman into punching Batman, however, which killed him before he could stop her. Showing instant remorse for all the deaths she had caused, Ivy used the magicians and sorcerers within her control to bring Batman back to life. Batman awoke in a hospital under the care of Harley Quinn, who he convinced to get Ivy to release her control over mankind. Harley and Ivy were allowed to start going to a therapeutic center for superheroes known as the Sanctuary, where Ivy and several others were accidentally killed by Wally West, the Flash. With the Flash's help, however, Ivy was able to regrow a new body made entirely of plant matter from a rose she had given to Harley Quinn grown off of her old body. With her plant-based body, Ivy is able to fully regenerate lost limbs or her entire body from other vegetation. Her plant-based body is relatively new in the comics, however, and I suspect DC's upcoming plans for the character won't keep her that way, so I'm going with a more classic version of Poison Ivy, in which she's still able to grow, manipulate, and mutate plant life. She also has a toxic touch, particularly from her lips, which would be fatal. And she can emit pheromones that make others subservient to her commands. She derives her abilities from photosynthesis, and the more sunlight she absorbs, the greener her skin becomes, making her more toxic and more capable of exerting her will over others through her pheromones. As a renowned botanist, she also has foremost knowledge of plant-based toxins and medicines. That's poison ivy.
So she took control of everybody on Earth. That's nuts.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That's quite the feat there. She's definitely a good match for Emma Frost. So now that we've gone over the histories and abilities of the characters, let's speculate on how one of the 1,000 simulated matches will go. The winner is determined by simulations, not this speculation, but it's fun to imagine how this could play out.
We don't set any rules for this match, other than the characters don't know anything about each other going in, except that the other character is a threat that needs to be put down. And we say they start off about 50 meters apart in an environment that has no bearing on the match itself, because we don't take stats for the environment.
Yeah, plus certain characters have advantages in some environments over others, and we want these characters to win on their own merit. So let's get into it. Poison Ivy and the White Queen meet on the battlefield. Who goes first? I think it's going to start off with Emma probing Poison Ivy's mind and just learning everything about Ivy's history and everything about what her powers are. So she's starting this match off like super prepared.
Okay, but while Emma is distracted doing that, Ivy quickly grows this like thorny vine out of the ground that wraps around Emma's ankle. And the thorns are poisonous, with like this neurotoxic poison that poke Emma and poison her, limiting her psychic abilities for the rest of the match.
You're already taking Emma's psychic abilities out of this?
Heck yeah, I am.
That's because, Emma would just shut her mind down. But, that's actually pretty smart. That's what you want to do. Convenient that it just, happened to be a neurotoxin,
Isn't it? Yeah, Emma's like all fatigued and delirious right now.
Okay. So, yeah, she like stumbles down to the ground and just dies, She lets out her dying breath and her body decomposes and like sinks into the ground. And then shooting up out of the ground is now this is like giant diamond fire-breathing dragon.
Since when does Emma have shape-shifting powers? I take it this is an illusion?
Maybe.
Well, I guess.
Yes, it's an illusion. It's an illusion, but Ivy doesn't know that.
Okay, so I guess Ivy would take on the dragon. She's going to do that by growing these two massive beanstalks that just start like whipping and binding this dragon.
But this diamond dragon is scary and a badass, and its fire is really hot, and it just sets these beanstalks that Ivy created on fire.
I mean, not really.
Right. It's just an illusion. And what's really happening is that, meanwhile, Emma is lying on the ground off to the side, trying to counter the neurotoxin that's in her system by psychically altering her brain chemistry to help fight it.
Can she do that?
I mean, toxin immunity is not a power of hers, but she has in the comics before managed to stave off poison by using her knowledge of neurology and biology to alter her own brain chemistry.
Oh, okay. One of those bullshit feats. Okay, I get it. Since Emma is so obviously, distracted, trying to alter her brain chemistry and create this illusion, I think Ivy is going to pretty quickly realize that what's happening with this dragon is not real. Like, she just doesn't have, like, adequate control of her vines. She doesn't feel the heat from the fire. It's fake. It's likely an illusion. So, in order to find Emma, Ivy is going to generate, like, a field of flowers. And she could feel what her plants feel, okay? So, she's going to kind of use those as feelers to locate where Emma is. And when the flowers reach Emma, Ivy knows where Emma is. So, the flowers around Emma like blossom open and spray out this like pollen that puts Emma to sleep.
Okay, but as Emma's laying there, she feels like these flowers surround her, and she knows what Ivy's powers are. So she probably realizes that her illusion has been found out, so she drops the illusion, and by this time I'm going to say that she has been successful in managing to partially counter Ivy's initial toxin, and before the sleep pollen from the flowers affects her, Emma transforms into her diamond form. And in that form, Emma doesn't need to breathe, so she doesn't inhale this sleep pollen.
What?
And she gets up off of the ground, still a little bit shaky, but a little bit stronger. She walks up over to one of these beanstalks that Poison Ivy has created, and she uses her strength to just rip it out of the ground. and she swings it like a giant whip right into Poison Ivy, just sending her flying.
Okay, I mean, that was a good move, but Ivy, as she's flying through the air, she's caught by like this giant leaf that she created, and it just gently lowers her to the ground. And that giant leaf like emerges as this massive Venus flytrap plant monster that Ivy commands to go after Emma and attack her.
Like Piranha Petey.
Yeah, exactly. So the Venus flytrap just like burrows under the ground and then erupts right beneath Emma Frost, swallowing her whole.
Except that Emma is still in her diamond form, so this giant Venus flytrap monster is not going to hurt Emma at all. And when it swallows her whole, Emma just rips out of the monster with her bare hands, like a badass. And then she just coolly walks up to Poison Ivy and just slaps the bitch out of her.
What? Ivy's not going to let Emma just walk up to her. Like, she's going to summon like a whole bunch of vines to hold Emma back.
But Emma's strong, though.
Yeah, but these are like a lot of vines, and eventually, she's able to restrain Emma. At which point, Poison Ivy walks up to her and plants like this hypnotic kiss right on Emma's lips. Open mouth. And she commands Emma to drop her diamond form.
I like where this match is going. But here's the thing. If Poison Ivy kisses Emma Frost while Emma's in her diamond form, not only is Emma not affected by this kiss, Emma also knows what the kiss was supposed to do, and Emma knows that Ivy doesn't know she knows. You know?
Do I?
So Emma's not affected, and she pretends to be under Ivy's control. So she drops her diamond form, and as soon as she does, even though she's still bound by these vines, she immediately telepathically blasts Ivy, causing her psychic anguish.
Okay. Ivy does have a connection to her plants, though. So if she's in pain, likely reflexively, the plants will also react, okay? So these vines are going to wrap tighter around Emma, forcing her back into her diamond form and cutting off her psychic attack. And they like wrap so tight and apply so much PSI, like a hydraulic press, that they actually crack Emma's diamond form.
Oh, like Magneto did in X-Men First Class?
Exactly.
Okay, well, where's she cracked?
On her ass.
Where she already has a crack there.
Well, now she has two.
All right. All right, well, okay. Emma she feels the new crack in her ass, and she, she gets like scared, so she summons all of her strength, and she rips the vines out of the ground and pulls them off of her, and then she drops her diamond form and just takes over Ivy's mind. And she commands Poison Ivy to command the vines that Ivy created to instead wrap Ivy up, and Ivy's own vines start choking her out.
Okay, but Emma's not in her diamond form right now?
Right, yeah, she dropped it after she broke the vines.
Okay, then she's breathing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so as Emma is causing Ivy to choke herself out, at the last minute, Emma can't follow through with the mental command. Emma stops psychically attacking Ivy.
No, she doesn't. Why?
Because of Ivy's naturally occurring pheromones that she emanates from her body.
Okay.
They make Emma fall in love with her and unable to kill her.
What?
Yeah, because it works on both men and women.
So Emma breathed in these love pheromones and now
Yes.
can't kill Poison Ivy.
Exactly. Emma is just like standing there love struck, just in awe of the gorgeous beauty that is Poison Ivy.
Well, I mean, Emma starts to realize this, so she turns back into her diamond form before she breathes more of these pheromones and falls too much in love.
Okay, but by the time she realizes that, Ivy has already generated this like heavy thorned wooden club, and she just spanks Emma like right in the crack, just like shattering her into diamond shards, ending this match.
Oh my god. No, okay. That was actually pretty good. I say that Emma actually snaps out of her love days by transitioning into her diamond form, and instead of getting spanked and shattering, she shoves her fist right through Poison Ivy's gut and impales her, ending this match.
No, because Emma's victory was actually just a hallucination caused by Ivy's plant spores, and Ivy still spank shatters Emma.
Except it turns out that Emma wasn't hallucinating and that this whole thing was just an illusion, and Poison Ivy still gets impaled.
Except, I don't know. I got nothing.
All right, well, we'll leave the match there and run the simulations on both of these characters and come back with the actual winner.
Cool. Now, we've had some pretty sexy matches on this podcast. Like, Katana Electra comes to mind, so does Catwoman and Hellcat, but I think this was by far the sexiest.
I mean, as it should be.
Right. Not only are the characters sexy, but their stats are pretty sexy as well. They're actually, surprisingly to me, more comparable than I thought they were. I thought Ivy was totally going to blow Emma out of the water, stat-wise, but
What?
she didn't. Yeah. We said that Poison Ivy was slightly faster, she was stronger.
That one caught me by surprise, because I was going into this match thinking that Emma Frost was absolutely going to nab the strength stat. But it turns out that Poison Ivy can actually lift a lot more than the 2 tons that Emma can while she's in her diamond form.
Right, Ivy can lift things with her plants, and she can make her plants really, really big.
Yeah, and that means that Poison Ivy can also inflict a lot more physical damage than Emma Frost can. Although Emma can inflict a lot of psychic damage.
Yeah, the damage stat was kind of a challenge to figure out because psychic damage is not necessarily less potent than physical damage, but it does manifest differently.
Yeah, it's like damage without causing damage. It's weird. The White Queen definitely beats Poison Ivy in terms of range and perception, considering that Emma can read minds.
Just barely, though, in terms of range. We figured that Emma, as a psychic, was better able to pinpoint her attacks, whereas Ivy is more about covering a wide area.
The one that I really fought you on was intellect, because I absolutely believe that Emma Frost is smarter than Poison Ivy without counting for psychic ability.
And that's where you're wrong, because Ivy is probably the leading botanist on the planet. She's a doctor, Dr. Pamela Isley.
Anyway, we said they were about equal in terms of intellect. We ran all those stats through the simulations, and we have a winner. I'll say it's close, but not too close. There is a distinctive winner here. Now, Jonathan, who do you think that is?
Well, I'd like to say it's Poison Ivy, just to stick it to the 73% of our social media followers who chose Emma Frost as the winner in our online polls, But stat-wise, I'm not confident that Poison Ivy is going to take home the W.
And by W, do you mean White Queen?
No, I mean win.
Okay, yeah, that was dumb. But the winner of this week's duel between White Queen and Poison Ivy it was the White Queen.
Damn it.
That's right. White Queen won 60.2% of the 1,000 matches, whereas Poison Ivy only won 39.8%. So 602 wins over 398. This wasn't close, but I won't say that it was horrible. It wasn't a total blowout.
Thanks, dude.
It's pretty much 60-40.
Not gonna lie, I thought Ivy was gonna do better. We need, a beauty stat, because Ivy would totally have killed this one.
Poison Ivy is not more attractive than Emma Frost. I have to tell you that. Especially in her diamond form. How beautiful is that diamond form?
No one wants to date a diamond girl. Red hair, dude. Red hair. With leaves as clothing? Yes.
Emma wears lingerie.
Leaves as clothing. It's just better. I will fight you on that one.
We'll have the characters fight each other. How about that?
Oh, okay.
And then White Queen wins. Yeah. Okay.
I walked right into that.
But that does it for this duel. Let us know what you guys thought about the results by writing to us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com or by visiting us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. You can find links to all of our accounts by visiting our website, dynamicduel.com.
And on our site, you can also find a link to our Patreon page where we offer bonus content, including, once again, our very own Marvel vs. DC card game called Dynamic Duel War that's coming out Black Friday.
You know where else you can shop on Black Friday? Cufflinks.com, where if you use the promo code DUEL15, that's DUEL15, you can get 15% off any order that you make on that site from now until the end of 2020, so definitely take advantage of that.
In our next episode, we will be reviewing the 1966 film Batman the Movie with guest hosts John and Adam Speas from the Blast from Our Past podcast. You may remember that we also reviewed X-Men Origins Wolverine with them.
Yeah, and they're a blast to have on the show. Their podcast is all about nostalgic media, so we thought that they would be perfect to dive into this classic superhero film. It's going to be a lot of fun leading into the Thanksgiving weekend.
We want to remind everyone again to please subscribe to our show if you haven't, or please leave a rating or review on your platform of choice. Sharing the show on social media or in person is also a big help for us.
But that does it for this episode. We want to give a big thanks to our executive producers, Ken Johnson, Jace Crump, John Starosky, John Speas, Isaiah Bethune, Zachary Hepburn, and John Bechinina.
A lot of Johns.
Yeah, I just realized that. Thank you guys for helping make this podcast possible, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Up and away.
True believers.